There's some breaking royal news tonight, as if every day didn't have breaking royal news, of course, but I'm not talking about the fact that Meghan Markle has announced that maybe she would like to reconcile and have a nice conversation with Princess Catherine. Of course, she's saying this as Princess Catherine is convalescing after abdominal surgery. Oh, and I'm not gonna. We will talk. We will talk about the fact that Prince William made a political statement, which most royals don't do that often. And maybe we should talk a little bit about the fact that that Prince Harry wants to step in and offer his services to the royal family. Because wouldn't the royal family need Prince Harry's services? So anyhow, I am Deanna from Hot for History, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about the fact that the latest news is about how the wedding of Meghan and Harry just stunk, like really foul. According to Richard Hoffman of Suits, one of the Suits alumni, he's hilarious. He played Louis Litt on the series. How do I know? Because I binge watched it. Because honestly, no matter what you say about Meghan, the show I like to watch it. Go ahead and call me mama. It's fine. So let's talk about this. First, we're going to talk about this story that just broke, and then we will talk about Princess Catherine. We will talk about Prince Harry and Meghan heading up to Canada. We are going to talk about a video that I posted that I think people need to talk about regarding what does happen if, God forbid, King Charles does not get better, because that's something we're going to talk about. But first, let me talk about the breaking news about the stank that went on at Harry and Meghan's wedding. Welcome, Kathy. Welcome, Constipated in Sin City. Welcome, Sam. Welcome, Stephen, Brian, and anybody else who I don't see right now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this article that just came out. Of course, it's kind of old news, but I know why their wedding stunk. I do. And I'm going to tell you, if you guys hang on, I'm going to explain to you why Meghan and Harry's wedding stunk. Okay. So this is an article that's out everywhere because Richard Hoffman decided to make some very, very confidential news, which Meghan's probably going to freak over about because it was a leak, was a planting and a leaking that they didn't probably want to get out. But he's pretty hilarious. He's the guy that plays Louis Litt on the series Suits. He's hysterical. Okay, so he says the article says the wedding of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry may have been picture perfect, but according to her former Suits co-star, it didn't smell as pretty as it looked. It was a stinky wedding. Harry and Meghan's wedding stunk, which was ironic because it was probably one of the greatest years right before another annus horribilis that the Queen said one of the worst years was 2019. But it was a great year. The wedding was well attended. All of us were like, yay! This was in 2018. And so, but according to Richard Hoffman, Louis Litt, he said that the wedding stunk. He said on the Chicks in the Office podcast that he came across something really terrible and foul in the air when he was at the wedding at Frogmore. And I'm going to explain to you why it smelled so bad, why I think it smelled so bad. And his unfortunate reaction was caught on camera. If you type my name in on Google, you see my face making an awful face at Meghan and Harry's wedding. As he took his seat, he noted there was still air. And as time goes by, I'm starting to smell something really terrible and really foul. Can you imagine? You're going to like the wedding, like a royal wedding, and you're like sitting there and you're like, boy, what happened here? Did somebody pass wind? So he thought somebody had terrible breath, but it was more than one person and it was getting over there. So he said that it just kind of expanded in the air at their wedding when he was being seated or sitting down. So he went to his castmates recalling, I don't want them to think it's me. because I'm so particular about my hygiene. This is Richard Hoffman. Why am I so red? This camera comes out way too red. Hang on, but then that's going to be too bright. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm like, do you guys smell that? And they're like, no. So now I'm literally by myself alone on an island and I'm just going, mother. And that's the face they got on camera. So, he's saying, mother, you know what? So he added, guess who knew the most in the cast that I had an issue with other people's hygiene? It was Meghan. Always knew and would always laugh about how I was so sensitive. So the host joked, Meghan sat him next to the area with the odor, but he replied it was ironic that it had happened at all. So this is the news about Harry and Meghan's wedding. And again, I know why it stunk. This is driving me nuts. I put on a different camera. I had stopped using that camera because, but now it's doing the same thing. There's no red in here. It's just the way that it's reflecting. Despite the unpleasant smell, Hoffman described the event as incredibly special. I'm sure the wedding was special. We all thought it was special. We all thought it was beautiful. Meghan was beautiful. I thought the wedding dress was a little big for her, but it was exciting. It was a gorgeous day in the UK. It was just beautiful, right? And so he said, and it didn't feel real due to the thousands gathered to watch the royal couple tie the knot. Members of the Suits cast reunited for 2 different Super Bowl commercials this year with Hoffman, Sarah Rafferty, and Gina Torres appearing in the ad for makeup brand e.l.f. with Judge Judy, and Patrick J. Adams and Gabriel Macht appeared together in one for T-Mobile. The Hollywood Reporter interviewed Adams and Macht on the set of the commercial where they revealed that they haven't been in much contact with Markle. Of course not. Since the show's most popular resurgence on streaming services, I have not communicated with her other than seeing her big support for the resurgence. Okay, saw that. No communication. So hold on. And then he pretended that he got a call for her. So none of that. And then this article goes on. Thank you, Salty Dog. So thank you. I'll be working on getting a better camera set up here. Okay. And this was very last minute because I thought it was so hilarious that there was this article about the stinky wedding. Okay. Markle and Prince Harry recently what do you guys think of the fact that they were in Canada? Do you think that they went to Canada legitimately to promote the Invictus Games a year and a half out, or was it a PR stunt because there was so much material? I'm going to go just on. There was so much material about that trip because Harry spoke to Will Reeves, who was, Christopher Reeves' son. It was so tragic that he died and then his mother died, so he left him basically as an orphan, but now he's working for Good Morning America or whatever. So there they are in Canada. So they're in Canada on the luge or whatever, a year and a half out, talking about it, but it's all focused on Harry and Meghan. And then, of course, the guy, Harry, who tells everybody everything, they ask him, they're like, oh, what kind of father are you? And he's like, that's confidential. Like he says that he had considered becoming a U.S. citizen, which, what? You are the king's son. Granted, you're somewhat estranged, but what, so anyhow, it just seemed like a publicity stunt. And then he was talking about how he visited his dad and how on one hand, he said, illness will bring everybody together. How awesome is that? And at the same time, he said, well, I have my own family. Well, yeah, you have your own family, but that typically extends into your brothers and sisters, and like, he's just so weird. So then there's news that Harry most likely wants to step in and help support the royal family in their time of need. What planet do these people live on? Like, are they just totally tone deaf? Okay. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys thought about the Canada thing. I'll tell you a rumor that's going on, okay, so Harry did start that, right? He started it, but he started it with the Royal Foundation. And so the Royal Foundation is a, part of the royal family. So technically, some people are saying they may take that event away from him. Of course, it's just another rumor, and have Zara and Mike Tyndall. I look like Wilma Flintstones. These are not bones, they're butterflies. Okay. But anyhow, so that's one rumor. The other rumor is that I'm just going to give you all the rumors. The other rumor is that they're considering taking the Sussex title. Of course, we hear this every other day, away from them, and giving the Sussex title to Lady Louise, who's going to be turning 21. Remember, her parents are the is it the Count and Countess, or the Duke and Duchess of Wessex? Okay, and then her brother is the Viscount, right? So everybody's saying, okay, well, they're going to give Lady Louise the job of being, the woman, like the Duke Duchess of Sussex. I don't believe this, because I think that King Charles doesn't like, he's not wanting to ruffle feathers with them. He wants the reconciliation within the family, but then at the same time, he doesn't, they shouldn't have all. So that's another rumor. Let's talk about this. King Charles firmly, do you guys believe this? Of the opinion that Prince Harry can't return. I mean, William would absolutely not have that. Okay. But it also says, okay, so he's firmly, which one should I read? I'm going to read the one about him not being angry. Okay, so Prince Harry, all of a sudden, he's not angry with the royal family anymore. You guys are the worst. Fine. I'm trying to talk about something, and you guys are making dating plans. Hi, Brandy. Well, all I know is that Janet says I'm single, and yes, of course, single people would date doctors. Absolutely. Although honestly, I'm really into they would probably have to be a functional doctor or lean into the integrative for me, or somebody who at least took more than one semester of nutrition. That would be my thing. Okay, so during his trip, Harry gave an interview where he spoke publicly for the first time about King Charles's cancer. Oh. Okay, I know, I love that you guys can track with me, because I'm all over the place. I still, to this day, this is the reason I get on here, right? I am very perplexed on how we could all be like, everybody loved, we all loved Harry. Let's just be honest. Hold on. Yes. Would I date a gynecologist? Oh my gosh. Let's not talk about that right now. I have some great stories that are similar. Okay. So everybody loved Harry. And then all of a sudden, Harry revealed himself by showing that he's totally entitled and he's not intelligent. So that is the deal there. And so that drives me nuts, right? Okay. So anyhow, I didn't mean to go off, and not a psychiatrist. Do I have to put these? This is why I don't get any views on my lives, because there's the algorithms, like, are they talking? Is it like a dating show? Is it, this is why I have to do like shorts, or I have to do regular videos, because the people who follow me are just like me, because they're willing to bounce all over the place. Fine. McDaniel, Harry needs to forget. Okay, fine. I've got like a royal comment. Boop. Harry needs to forget about royal work. Leave it to William and the kid. I know. It's like, what lane are you going to stay in? Do you want to be royals? And honestly, Americans, we like to talk about the royals, but we don't want a king and queen. No matter how much we love talking about the royals, we do not want a king and queen. That's just it, you know? Okay, wait. Fran, I'm trying to track. Okay. Youngest son, okay, okay, and now known as Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. King Charles III gave his honor to Ed and Sophie after mom passed away. You're a bit confused. Yes, no, I know that. Um, you are a bit confused like the royals were with their titles. What do you mean I'm confused? Oh yeah. Are you saying that wait, he gave the honor? Oh yeah. Sorry. You're right. They did change it to Edinburgh. Okay, wait. All right, I'm following you now. Thank you for setting me straight. Well, let me ask you this, Fran, especially if you're around the UK. Do you think there's any weight to this rumor about Lady Louise, who many people thought was like the favorite granddaughter of the Queen? She's just, Edward's family is pretty much perfect. So do you think there's any rumors to that? I can't imagine him taking one title away and then moving it over to the other. Although Lady Louise had the option of becoming a princess and she said no, but she still could change that. He has been floating around a while. Well, now I think he should just stay in the US with Meghan and his kids. Okay, so let me get back on track with what I was saying. And what one of you guys was saying. Does he want to be royal or do they want to be celebrities? That's the whole problem. They're all over the place. We don't know what they want to do. And it's sad in hindsight. I was watching a video about the history of the last like 5 years, and like they lost a lot of time with the Queen. Their children didn't get any time with the Queen. There were even like these pictures with the Queen with her great grandchildren that they could have been in. They've just suppressed so much of that, except when they think, the king is near death. He's not near death. I'm just saying, I'm exaggerating. Or when Princess Catherine's out. Oh, we'll step in now. They could have arranged something like that. So with that being said, I think I'm going to bypass some of these articles because we know that William has said no, they're not going to come back. We know that Charles is like, no, I want him to be my son, but I don't necessarily want him to be working. And here's the problem with the video that I put up the other day. Okay, so if Charles gets worse, I want to kind of break this down and have this conversation because I was sort of shocked because you know how everybody's like, could Harry ever be, the king? And everybody's like, no, he's fifth in line. Of course not. There is a scenario where he could take a regency. And that kind of freaked me out the other day. So let me break down the scenario. You guys probably know. But so next in line is Will. Now, William will become king should King Charles decide to abdicate, which would be a huge stretch for him because he loves being king. He waited a long time. I'm sure he's highly frustrated. Well, he's probably having those meltdowns like, he wants to work. He wants to be active, but obviously he needs to be healthy. So we realistically need to talk about the fact that it's possible that Charles will have a much more abbreviated reign than we thought, right? So he's either going to abdicate, which that's an option, but probably not. Another scenario could be that the cancer could get so bad that William has to step into a regency position, which means that Charles would still be the king, but then the active king or whatever, for at least for the time being, would be William. The other option, obviously, is that he dies, and all of a sudden now we have another coronation. We have another coronation, which basically leaves William as king, George as first in line, which is great, except he's 10, 11 years old. So then what happens then is that technically the next regency position in line, because everybody's under 18, is Harry and then Andrew. What does that mean? They're not officially king like forever. It's just that they have the authority, if they live in the country, to make these decisions until George is of age, right? So somebody has to be the regent. So, and then from there, then, they don't take the reign, but that would be it until they're like 18. So it does make things a little bit more vulnerable because obviously George needs to come of age and than William. And of course, a couple of different kings would have to die in order for, you know, Harry to become regent. And then if Harry couldn't do it, Andrew. So now Parliament's bouncing around this, kind of, I don't know if it's a referendum or whatever. Like, do we need to change this whole regency thing in order to bounce out Harry and Andrew? Okay, so I'm going to look at your thing. So that was kind of a little, like kind of creepy. And then, oh yeah. So here's the thing. It's like, does Harry want to be royal or does he want to be an American? He'll say the same thing. Like, he has no common sense. And I don't know who is consulting him or coaching them for PR, because he always makes these kind of ridiculous comments, right? It's just crazy. So, yeah, he can't want to be an American. And because when you become an American, you have to, they have this thing where they're like, can you denounce the Queen? Right. It doesn't really matter, but just do it. It's okay. You can still have dual citizen, but can you, like, say you don't really like the monarch? That's what it is. So he is just playing around. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I felt like his interview was so obviously he doesn't like the media, but he had to have agreed to have Will from Good Morning America accompany them. So if you're going to have them accompany you, tell them and know what questions they can ask and which ones they can't. And then if they're asking the questions, then at least give reasonable answers, not like, I can't tell you that. That's private. That's confidential. From a man who wrote a book telling everything about his family, including what cream he used on his Todger. Like, are we supposed to believe this, So the regency is yeah, it would be almost impossible. It would be impossible. The last time that happened was with King George in the 1700s, when he went, a little cray cray. And then George IV had to kind of step in with the regency. So that was a bit, that was crazy. But and actually, many people say that it was that regency that, had we had more of a sane king in England, that America wouldn't have had as much of their independence, because he was just kind of a softing and a little out there. So, but yeah, so the regency is highly unlikely. It's also highly unlikely that it'll abdicate, and we are exaggerating, obviously, if we think, okay, he's just going to kick the bucket, right? But it does bring up those questions. Hi, Rahala. We do want to ask those questions because, we think these things. So let's talk about it, right? So what would happen if the king's gone? Now, one of the things that I worry about, you guys can let me know what you think, is Princess Catherine, because you would think that we would see something, hear something, this cryptic information, about her sickness is sort of starting to kind of creep me out a little bit. It's just, I'm curious. I'm really curious. Okay, can she like make an appearance now? Is she like, what is going on? Is this, a critical situation? Is this fine? Like, we don't know. Prince William showed up at the BAFTAs the other day. That was always his event with his wife. He's the president of the BAFTAs. And showed up, did his thing, which was fine, but he didn't really look like himself. He definitely looks like he's stressed out, which I don't blame him, because if you think of it, his wife is very, very sick, apparently. Hopefully she's not too very sick, very, very. I hope she's, I don't know. Anyhow, and then he's got his kids. He's got his brother, doing God knows what. It's like a circus out there, and his dad. So then he makes the comment about, he gets political the other day, which is not what the royals do, right? They're not supposed to be making those statements. But he's human. I always thought it was a little odd that they couldn't say anything. But if King Charles dies, okay, and then when King William when King William V, what is the day of the coronation for King William? Well, we wouldn't know. So, for example, when Queen Elizabeth became queen, I think it was 18 months. They become king and queen like right away, but they don't have their coronation for another I don't know, like, what was it for King Charles? 8 months, 9 months, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, like 8, 9 months, right? So we don't know. Um, you wouldn't know until that time. It typically, I think many of them have been sort of in the spring like that. So, but we wouldn't know because we wouldn't know like when he would pass away or whatever. But the sad thing for him, some people think it's karma because of his affair with Camilla and now, getting married, but whatever, and him always wanting to be king. But it's sad in a sense because he really wanted to be king. And now, he is going to have to make some serious decisions should his health not get better, right? So that's it. Okay, ciao, salty dog. I'm going to go too because I've been on live. I was on live for something else before, but anyhow, I thought it was funny that article about the stinky wedding. Oh, I wanted to tell you why I think it stunk. Okay, so Frogmore, there's Frogmore Cottage, and then there's the Frogmore Lodge, I guess, or whatever. Maybe it's not called the lodge, but it's Frogmore House where they had the wedding. It's like on a marsh. So it's like they say that it's extremely humid. Like I think the cottage had to have all these like dehumidifiers and stuff in it. So it's gonna. I mean, I wouldn't think it would smell, but it might be moldy. But you would think that they would have done a lot of work on it. This was not their home. This was where the event space is. So I think Richard Hoffman probably just caught wind of, the natural smell of the place or something. I don't know. That would be my guess. Bunny, you always come on at the last minute, and then I'm wanting to stay on to see what you have to say. Okay, wait. Let me read what you're saying, girl. Okay. There's an article that says Prince Harry, Prince Archie, and Prince Lilibet are getting new titles, and another article that says King Charles is demanding William gives Harry space at Kensington. Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing listen, the articles that are out there now are like crazy. They're hard to keep up with. They're almost sounding like UFO sightings. Like they're really like bizarre. Some of the ones I'm seeing, like really, really bizarre. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's wait and see. We've been on here before when things sounded crazy and they actually came to be. And then there were other ones where we're like, nah, I don't think so. Well, the coronation of William V looked like his that's a great question. You guys tell me what you think. Okay, this is if it was soon, which we're not saying that it's soon because he's just going through treatment. He was in church, yada yada. He's probably fine. But if it's not too far out, I would think it would be kind of gauche to have such an elaborate coronation. That's number one. Number two, I feel like it's becoming less like I was shocked during the coronation and almost started laughing when I saw like the gowns and stuff. It always looks great in the 1950s when you see the queen and stuff like that. But nowadays it just looks like costumes. So I don't know. It's becoming like in Denmark, like their coronation was not like a big coronation. They went on the balcony, did their whole thing, wore some great clothes, had a photo op. That was beautiful, but I don't know if they would still have a big thing, but it might be tradition and expected. You guys that are over in the UK, you tell me what you think. Like, would they ever forego a massive event? Like, would they forego a massive event? Or would they continue to want like that large event? I think skipping most of the, okay. I think he will opt for a simpler ceremony. I would think so too. But you know what? They said that Charles's ceremony was simpler. Yeah, and Denmark didn't have a coronation per se. They just stepped up on the balcony. They signed the papers, the abdication papers, the other papers. And it was Frederick and Christian. And then they did like a walk out, like a wave and stuff. And then they had like a dinner or something. Then a week later, they went into the church for a church event as a family. And that was pretty much it, but it still felt big because there were 100,000 people waiting for them to get on the balcony. So even though that's scaled down, it's still elaborate. I don't know. I feel like William would just have, like a smaller thing. King Charles coronation gowns looked old and moldy. Yeah, I just felt like it was like comical almost, like it was kind of funny. Although I do like when I see things like Frederick and Mary looked amazing, like her clothes and stuff. But UK is different from yeah, it's true. So I don't know. You guys might still, it would just depend on the timing. We shouldn't like speculate too much because it still might be 10, 15 years from now. But I think getting back to Charles, for him, it may really feel like, oh my gosh, I thought I would have more time and more energy, but look at me. However, many people said that they knew that his health wasn't good. They said, we knew that his health wasn't good all along. And I'm sorry, I always pointed out his chubby sausage fingers. Like, that's a sign of something else going on. His huge sausage fingers. I'm sorry. Okay, and then Janet, you did bring up a point about the smell of Frogmore. William is now willing to speak to Harry. Girl, I don't know. We must be watching different news things. I would hope that he would. I don't think he should bring them into like doing anything royal, but I would hope, because quite frankly, your dad is sick. Sometimes showing the best way to show your strength is to humble yourself, if that makes sense, guys, right? In other words, sometimes the stronger person is the one who will be like, okay, I'm going to put this aside. I think King, yeah, like you're right. But I don't know. Did they have these scares? I don't know if they had these scares. Like, I mean, his grandfather, like they all like smoked too much, but so I don't know. Camilla finally gets a spot in the castle just to, Camilla stepped up to the plate. Camilla has been really, really active. She's kind of impressed people, including myself, who normally were like, I'm not a Camilla person, right? But she's been like going around doing her thing and doing it gracefully. And I think that that's been pretty impressive. And also standing by her husband, as odd as it was that their whole thing was odd, they sure have been like lifelong mates, Okay, I'm going to go. Please do subscribe to Hot for History, guys. And I will be coming back with some live content and some shorts. I'm definitely going to make a short about the stinky wedding. I think that is hilarious that he brought it up. It's so funny too, because I used to do weddings. Like I did a lot of weddings with my big band in New York. And that is one thing, like everything can be perfect. But if it smells, dudes, like if it smells, And so imagine you get your plate and you get a waft of whatever that was. But yeah, very damp near Frogmore. So that's pretty hilarious. I think it's so funny that he brought it up, and there's actually articles written about it. So anyhow, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for being here, and we will come back soon. Bye.